unexpected, you know.
Because it happens. It happens. So
It does.
part of my strategy, and I didn't mean to interrupt. So, but part of my strategy in that is because cash flow is number one. I do agree with you on that. Even in a flip, can this thing sustain itself the way I'm entering it? Can it sustain itself if it had to? But
Exactly.
the other thing I look at is this a quality product? Am I buying? Which means, are you doing your due diligence? Have you really lifted the skirt? You know, are you taking a
Sure.
hard
Yes.
look at this
Yes.
thing?
Yeah. That's why I say know the market too. Know what you're
Yeah.
buying. Know the market. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. I couldn't say that one was more important than the other. I think that they are all
There,
equally as
yeah.
important.
Yes, and I find that you know the show we try to um, advocate for the newer investor, but we also want to be a voice for the seasoned investor because sometimes you need somebody to remind you of some of these things. But I do feel like that the new investors especially in this more senior population, um, think that they're at an advantage when they pay cash, and so they think that they are avoiding all these problems and these headaches when they don't try and borrow money. And they're going to get a better deal. That's the first thing they think. And they think that
Hmm.
it's going to be less cumbersome for them. And maybe the process might be a little easier. Sure, take the cash. Cash is king. But if you're not really experienced at negotiating and you avoid all the processes, because then you're cheating yourself. I mean, this is a way I look at things, not necessarily set in stone, because the processes, what the lenders are asking you to do is meet a criteria that makes sense. And if it makes sense to them and they're willing to lend the money, then you probably have a solid plan. But if they say to
Hmm.
you that doesn't make sense, that really what they're saying is your plan's not really good. Go back and adjust it. You know,
Right.
see if
Exactly. Exactly.
it's not rejecting, it's not complicated to rule you out. It's this makes sense and can ensure that what you're trying to do will be profitable for you. And
Now,
why?
I will say, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
No,
will
no,
say
that's okay.
one thing when they're going in, when they see a property, certain types of property that they want to acquire, cash is king in that particular case. You know, they want to go in and it's priced right, and of course, buying right is, you know, a huge part of this whole process. Knowing the market and buying right, and cash is king when they're going in to present an offer and paying cash. But on that note, you know, many times a savvy investor will do a cash out refinance after acquisition, you know, to free up the funds for future investment opportunities. So if it's something that requires a closing in 7 days, or the property's not insurable because it needs a new roof and there's not an insurance agent that's going to insure it, or something that would prohibit financing, because even with all loan types, even if they're portfolio loans, they want to make sure that the property is adequately insured.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if that becomes an issue, they can always, you know, go ahead and, you know, do a refinance and cash out on the fund to use the money at a later date.
But move fast. Don't
Yeah,
stand
right, right,
still
right,
on it.
right.
You know,
Right, because
that's
sometimes it takes a while to get a roofer. You know, they might be
mm-hmm.
busy, and the insurance company, you know, might say, "Hey, we have to have somebody come out there and inspect it," and you're looking at a few months down the road. But that doesn't mean that, you know, your funds have to be, you know, tied up for the next 10 years. You know, you can get the money out of the property and continue to meet your investment goals by utilizing, utilizing the funds.
Yeah. Yeah, I am always a little more shy myself about something quite that aggressive because because I'm always thinking of that exit plan.
Right, right,
And
right.
I know, when things can change on a dime, so so
Yes, they can.
we're getting, we've had those conversations. So we're we're we are getting close to the end. I wonder, is there any words of advice or any of your thoughts um, on the things that you feel have helped you the most in your investing that you'd like to share with the audience, or that a takeaway from today's broadcast that you want to be sure they get?
I think for me personally, the most important thing that I ever did was setting my goals and then following through with them. I came up with, 20 years ago, I started that process where I wrote down exactly what I wanted to accomplish in exact time frames. And of course, as we discussed before, these things have to get adjusted, but they were my goals and I followed through. So that was primary. And then knowing my market and buying right was always key for me, because, you never want to, all the things that you read in real estate books, buy the best property on the block and, it costs 3 times as much as every other property. You want to know your market. You want to know exactly what you're getting into. And if you're getting financing, which, obviously we always recommend other people's money, have that set up in advance. It's a big disappointment when you're planning on, using a mortgage or a loan to acquire your goals, and then you find out that there's an unexpected surprise. So I always tell everybody, I know it seems redundant, but you want to make sure that you're qualified, even if it's a no income loan. Make sure that you get qualified in advance and make sure that you know what numbers that you're looking at, so that when the time comes and you find that perfect property that you think, is going to be a great, investment for you, make sure that, you know the numbers, because it's about the cash flow.
I agree with you. Can I ask you a more personal question? Because I didn't know you 20 years ago. And as a real estate broker associate, I'm constantly trying to remind people that I'm the best member of your team when you're thinking about real estate, because I have access to that information that lets you know those numbers. And I want to share that with you. I want your purchase to be successful. Did you find that you were able to rely on certain real estate agents to work with you that way? Was that
Oh,
a
absolutely.
useful? It was?
Oh yeah,
Good.
this was a long time ago, and my family and I came to Florida. I think it was in 1997. So it took me a while to get to know the market and know what I was looking at. And my children were young at the time, and my goal was to acquire real estate and acquire wealth over the long term. And once I did understand, I felt like I had a good handle on the market. I had found a wonderful real estate agent, and it was a husband and wife team that has since retired, and they were just essential. They knew exactly what we wanted. They knew exactly what numbers that we needed, what our goal was, what our strategy was, and it made life easy, because since we already knew the market and we were keeping up on what was selling, and where mortgage rates were, and where insurances were falling into play, what was in a flood zone, what wasn't. They knew exactly what we wanted, and so they were essential. They were crucial to helping us meeting our investment goals. Honestly, we wouldn't have been able to do it without them, and that's the
And
truth.
and that's teamwork. That is wonderful to hear. I am sorry I wasn't a part of it, but I'm so happy you had that experience, and I think it's an important experience. So we only have a couple of minutes, and we've been talking about the golden age of real estate, managing your real estate portfolio. And our guest today has been Janine Thomas with Kroboth and Helm Mortgage Company Incorporated, located here in Sarasota. Janine, how can someone from our audience reach you if they needed to talk to you or wanted to use your services?
Oh, feel free to call anytime. That's fine. You can call me at 941 809-7484, or our landline, 941-955-7115. We are located right downtown in Sarasota, right across from Whole Foods on First Street. And right there in the center of it all.
Wonderful, exciting stuff. And audience, remember, real estate, home ownership is the easiest, most effective way to build your wealth. Jeanine, I want to thank you, and I want to thank our audience for listening. And if you have any questions or comments, please contact me at maggierosemarch.com or realestatehotwired@gmail.com.
This has been Real Estate Hotwired with Maggie Rose March.